every genre, every singer was influenced in some way by the way she sang. And they will forever be influenced by her because her voice, her emotion, her sincerity is unforgettable.
What if the most powerful voice in American history didn't come from a president, but from a preacher's daughter in Detroit? In 2018, the Queen of Soul took her final bow, but her voice never left us. It still rises in playlists, protests, and presidential inaugurations. This is the story of a woman who turned pain into power and a song into a revolution. Aretha Franklin, the voice that made the world listen. Chapter 1. From the Church to the World. Aretha Louise Franklin was born on March 25, 1942, in Memphis, Tennessee. She was the fourth of 5 children. Her mother, Barbara, was a talented pianist and vocalist, and her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin, was a Baptist minister with a nationally renowned preaching style. When Aretha was 5, her family moved to Detroit, where her father became the pastor of New Bethel Baptist Church, a spiritual and cultural hub that would shape Aretha's destiny. Few know that Aretha's earliest lessons in showmanship came not from teachers, but from watching her father preach. Reverend C.L. Franklin had a magnetic voice that could move people to tears, and Aretha absorbed every beat, every pause, every flourish. She learned that music wasn't just about sound. It was about spirit. Visitors to the Franklin home weren't just neighbors. They were gospel royalty. Mahalia Jackson would sing in the living room. Clara Ward would cook in the kitchen. Aretha was raised in a house where greatness was routine. When she toured the gospel circuit with her father, she was billed as the voice, long before she topped any chart. Churchgoers lined up for hours just to hear a teenage girl sing. Her renditions of hymns were so powerful, some pastors thought she might be a prophet in training. But she didn't stay in the church forever. The world was calling, and she would answer with a voice that couldn't be confined by any one building. She wasn't born royalty, but she earned her crown. Aretha Franklin was born in Memphis in 1942 and raised in Detroit, where the choir was her first stage. Her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin, was one of the most famous preachers in the U.S., and her gospel upbringing shaped everything she would become. Aretha learned from gospel greats like Mahalia Jackson and Clara Ward, who often visited the Franklin home. By age 14, Aretha had recorded her first gospel album, Songs of Faith, and began touring with her father. Her voice, both prayer and power, left congregations in awe. Critics would later describe her early recordings as possessing a maturity and emotional intelligence far beyond her years. But the road to success wasn't easy. Before she became a household name, Aretha spent several years recording with Columbia Records, where she struggled to find her musical identity. Producers often pushed her toward jazz and pop standards, stifling the soul that defined her. It wasn't until 1967, when she signed with Atlantic Records, that she finally stepped into her full power. She wasn't meant to stay in church pews. Her voice was heading for something bigger, something global. Chapter 2. Respect. At 18, Aretha stepped into the recording world with Columbia Records. While those early records leaned more toward jazz and standards, it wasn't until 1967, after signing with Atlantic Records, that the world finally heard her roar. Her cover of Otis Redding's Respect didn't just top the Billboard Hot 100, it became a cultural earthquake. The song won 2 Grammy Awards and was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Otis himself said, "That girl done stole my song." Aretha didn't ask for respect. She demanded it. That single word, spelled out in full, became a battle cry. For women, for Black Americans, for anyone demanding to be heard. Follow-ups like, Chain of Fools, top 10 hit. Grammy-winning, over 1 million copies sold. Think became a feminist anthem and hit again when she reprised it in The Blues Brothers. You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, written for her by Carole King. This song became a generational classic and still brings tears decades later. These weren't just chart toppers. They were soul sermons. Her voice was no longer just soulful. It was seismic, shaking radio waves and reshaping American culture. Chapter 3. More Than Music. Aretha didn't just sing about freedom, she embodied it. She was deeply involved in the civil rights movement. She toured with Martin Luther King Jr. and sang at his funeral in 1968. When activist Angela Davis was arrested, Aretha publicly offered to pay her bail, saying, "I have the money. I got it from black people, and I want to use it in ways that will help our people." She refused to perform for segregated audiences and used her influence to open doors for black artists everywhere. Her music wasn't just the background to the movement, it was its heartbeat. Her rendition of Precious Lord at MLK's funeral became a defining moment of musical mourning. Her voice soothed and stirred all at once, capturing a nation's grief. While fighting for others, Aretha also fought for her own artistry and worth. From protests to pulpits, Aretha's voice became a vessel of both resistance and healing. She was more than an entertainer. She was a force. Behind the scenes, she was facing struggles of her own. Aretha had her first child at age 12 and her second at 14, all while navigating the demanding early years of her career. She battled depression, alcoholism, and endured abusive relationships. But she never let the world see her falter. In the 1970s, she became more private and wrestled with performance anxiety. But when she stepped on stage, she still delivered electrifying shows that left audiences speechless. Chapter 4. A Throne, Built on Soul. Behind the spotlight, Aretha was also a musical architect. A self-taught pianist, she often arranged her own compositions and demanded creative control in an era that offered few liberties to black female artists. In the studio, she was a producer in all but title, setting tempos, reworking melodies, and coaching background singers. Her attention to detail made every track unmistakably hers. She didn't just master soul, she mastered her business. Clive Davis helped revive her career in the 1980s with the hit Freeway of Love, reminding the world of her staying power. And she always knew her worth. Aretha famously demanded to be paid in cash up front before performances and kept that money in her handbag under the piano. She pioneered artist control, a blueprint for future icons like Prince or Beyoncé. She also reached beyond borders. In Japan, she sold out 5 nights at Budokan Hall, a feat few Western artists ever achieved. Nelson Mandela later said her voice was a beacon of hope during his years of imprisonment. They didn't give her the crown. She sang her way to it. Aretha collected 18 Grammy Awards across multiple categories. She was the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987, a recognition that shattered one more ceiling. She was a performer for the ages, from the Kennedy Center to the Vatican, from Nelson Mandela to Queen Elizabeth II. And in 2009, she sang at Barack Obama's inauguration wearing a gray felt hat with a rhinestone-studded bow. Instantly iconic and entirely Aretha. She didn't follow the charts. She made them. Her influence shaped generations. Whitney Houston, who she mentored. Beyoncé, who bowed to her at the 2008 Grammys, once said, "Without Aretha, none of us would be here." Adele said, "She taught me how to sing without ever meeting her." Elton John called her the greatest soul artist of all time, Alicia Keys, who called her voice the truest ever recorded. Aretha didn't chase pop trends. She set the gold standard for vocal power, emotional authenticity, and cultural relevance. Chapter 5. The Final Note. In August 2018, after a prolonged and private battle with pancreatic cancer, Aretha Franklin passed away in her Detroit home at age 76. The world's reaction was immediate and immense. Tributes poured in from every corner of the globe. Her memorial lasted 8 hours and featured soul-stirring performances by Stevie Wonder, Ariana Grande, Chaka Khan, Jennifer Hudson, and others. Detroit saw a sea of pink Cadillacs, the iconic car from her hit Freeway of Love, lining the streets in her honor. President Obama captured the sentiment best. In her voice, we could feel our history, all of it and in every shade. But it wasn't just an ending. It was a chorus of celebration. She was eulogized not with silence, but with song. Her 1972 live gospel album, Amazing Grace, was turned into a feature film in 2018, hailed as one of the greatest concert documentaries ever made. Spike Lee called it the closest thing to witnessing musical transcendence on screen. The film became a posthumous tribute, deepening her legacy just as the world said goodbye. But while the world celebrated her life, a private battle over her legacy was just beginning. Echo. Behind the tributes, a surprising truth emerged. The Queen left no formal will, igniting a battle over her $80 million legacy. In the years following her death, a dramatic and public estate battle unfolded. Initially, no will was found. Then, 2 handwritten wills surfaced, one from 2010 found in a locked cabinet, and another from 2014 discovered under couch cushions. Each version detailed different plans for how her assets should be divided among her 4 sons, leading to a prolonged court battle. In 2023, a Michigan jury ruled that the 2014 handwritten document was legally valid, finalizing how her assets would be distributed. The case not only drew headlines but also raised important questions about legacy planning, even for the most iconic figures. Her estate included real estate in Michigan, song royalties from decades of music, unreleased recordings, and copyrights. Despite the legal battles, Aretha's estate has remained strong. Licensing deals, biopics, and renewed music sales have continued to generate millions annually. Her songs were streamed over 100 million times in the year following her death. But beyond the numbers, the legal drama reminded the world of something deeply human. Even legends are vulnerable to life's chaos, and that their legacy must be protected with as much care as their art. Aretha's family now works to preserve her image, control her music rights, and ensure that new generations hear her voice with the clarity it deserves. As her son Kekalf once said, "We didn't just lose a mom, we lost a lighthouse." Chapter 7. Long Live the Queen. Aretha's voice refused to be silenced, even after death. Across generations, her influence exploded. Her versatility didn't stop at opera. She topped the charts in a duet with George Michael, "I Knew You Were Waiting for Me," which became a #1 hit in both the US and UK. Decades after her peak, she was still defining the sound of popular music, and fans today still can't get enough. TikTok and YouTube covers of her classics rack up millions of views. New artists cite her as a primary influence, and even children too young to have seen her live are discovering her through social media. She has been honored with a Pulitzer Prize Special Citation, a posthumous Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, and countless tributes across genres and generations. And in 2021, her story became a major motion picture. Respect, starring Jennifer Hudson, bringing her journey to a new audience and proven once again, her legacy is timeless. Aretha didn't just belong to the 20th century, she echoes through the 21st and beyond. So the next time you hear her voice, don't just listen, feel it. If her voice moved you, like this video, subscribe for more legendary stories, and share the Queen's story with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you so much for watching.